My darling philosophers, welcome to our daily devotional reading. Let's close our eyes. My attention is immediately drawn to my hands, partly because I have something that blows cold air on. I hope the sound doesn't disturb you too much, and it's directly falling on my hands. So let's pay attention to our hands. Rebecca has all sorts of ways to make people feel the tingle in their hands. If you shake your hands like this, apparently, I simply need to focus on my hands and then it happens. Maybe it's the same for you. Feel the life in your hands. The energy in your hands. The power in your hands. And once you feel this, let's do a little ritual. Once you feel this power in your hands, put your hands on either your heart or on your temples, your head, or on any part of you that you feel needs love, needs to be loved. And then say or sing the words, "Come here, come here." This is calling, your hands on your head is calling in Phileia. Hands on your heart, agape. Hands on something more private, eros. And hands on your feet or any other part, storge, that love of belonging. Do this as many times as you feel it's needed. And let's read Plato. Oh, they just won't stop tingling. I don't have a wand. But Rebecca says my hands are magic. Intensely so. But anything in which he is inferior, he avoids and depreciates, and praises the opposite from partiality to himself, and because he thinks that he will thus praise himself. The true principle is to unite them. Philosophy as a part of education is an excellent thing. A reminder we have, I think, Callicles speaking against philosophy. And there is no disgrace to a man while he is young in pursuing such a study. But when he is more advanced in years, the thing becomes ridiculous. Luckily only for men and not for women. And I feel toward philosophers as I do towards those who lisp and imitate children. For I love to see a little child who is not of an age to speak plainly, lisping at his play. There is an appearance of grace and freedom in his utterance, which is natural to his childish years. But when I hear some small creature carefully articulating its words, I am offended. The sound is disagreeable, and has to my ears the twang of slavery. So when I hear a man lisping, or see him playing like a child, his behavior appears to me ridiculous and unmanly and worthy of stripes. And I have the same feeling about students of philosophy. When I see a youth thus engaged, the study appears to me to be in character and becoming a man of liberal education, and him who neglects philosophy I regard as an inferior man, who will never aspire to anything great or noble. But if I see him continuing the study in later life, and not leaving off, I should like to beat him, Socrates. For as I was saying, such a one, even though he have good natural parts, becomes effeminate. He flies from the busy center and the marketplace in which, as the poet says, men become distinguished. He creeps into a corner for the rest of his life, and talks in a whisper with 3 or 4 admiring youths, but never speaks out like a freeman in a satisfactory manner. Now I, Socrates, am very well inclined towards you, and my feeling may be compared to that of Zethus towards Amphion in the play of Euripides, whom I was mentioning just now. For I am disposed to say to you much what Zethus said to his brother, that you, Socrates, are careless about the things of which you ought to be careful. Who have a soul so noble are remarkable for a puerile exterior. Neither in a court of justice could you state a case, or give any reason of proof, or offer valiant counsel on another's behalf. And you must not be offended, my dear Socrates, for I am speaking out of goodwill towards you, if I ask whether you are not ashamed of being thus defenseless, which I affirm to be the condition not of you only, but of all those who will carry the study of philosophy too far. For suppose that someone were to take you or any one of your sort off to prison, declaring that you had done wrong when you had done no wrong, you must allow that you would not know what to do. There you would stand giddy and gaping, and not having a word to say, And when you went up before the court, even if the accuser were a poor creature and not good for much, you would die if he were disposed to claim the penalty of death. And yet, Socrates, what is the value of an art which converts a man of sense into a fool? Of course, written after Socrates' death, but presented here as somewhat prophetic. An art which converts a man into a fool. Who is helpless and has no power to save either himself or others, when he is in the greatest danger and is going to be despoiled by his enemies of all his goods, and has to live simply deprived of his rights of citizenship. He being a man who, if I may use the expression, may be boxed on the ears with impunity, then, my good friend, take my advice and refute no more. Learn the philosophy of business and acquire the reputation of wisdom, but leave to others these niceties, whether they are to be described as follies or absurdities. Both close to my heart, folly and absurdity. For they will only give you poverty for the inmate of your dwelling. Cease then emulating these paltry spilters of words, and emulate only the man of substance and honor who is well-to-do. Socrates. If my soul, Callicles, were made of gold, should I not rejoice to discover one of those stones with which they test gold, and the very best possible one to which I might bring my soul? And if the stone and I agree in approving of her training, then I should know that I was in a satisfactory state, and that no other test was needed by me. What is your meaning, Socrates? I will tell you. I think that I have found in you the desired touchstone. Why? Because I am sure that if you agree with me in any of the opinions which my soul forms, I have at last found the truth indeed. I am sure that if you agree with me in any of the opinions which my soul forms, I have at last found the truth indeed. For I consider that if a man is to make a complete trial of the good or evil of the soul, he ought to have three qualities: knowledge, goodwill, and outspokenness, which are all possessed by you. Many whom I meet are unable to make trial of you because they are not wise as you are. Others are wise, but they will not tell me the truth, because they will because they have not the same interest in me which you have. And these two strangers, Gorgias and Polus, are undoubtedly wise men, and may be very good friends, but they are not outspoken enough, and they are too modest. Why, their modesty is so great that they are driven to contradict themselves, first one and then the other of them, in the face of the large company, on matters of the highest moment. And you have all the qualities in which these others are deficient, having received an excellent education. To this many Athenians can testify. And you are my friend. Shall I tell you why I think so? I know that you, Callicles, and Tisander of Athenae, and Andron, the son of Androtion, and Nisi, someone of the deme of Colarges, studied together. There were 4 of you, and I once heard you advising with one another as to the extent to which the pursuit of philosophy should be carried. And as I know, you came to the conclusion that the study should not be pushed too much into detail. You were cautioning one another not to be overwise. Same thing. You were afraid that too much wisdom might unconsciously to yourselves be the ruin of you. And now when I hear you giving the same advice to me, which you then gave to your most intimate friends, I have a sufficient evidence of your real goodwill to me, and of the frankness of your nature and freedom from modesty I am assured by yourself. And the assurance is confirmed by your last speech. Well then, the inference in the present case clearly is that if you agree with me in an argument about any point, that point will have been sufficiently tested by us, and will not require to be submitted to any further test. For you could not have agreed with me, either from lack of knowledge or from superfluity of modesty, nor yet from a desire to deceive me, for you are my friend, as you tell me yourself. And therefore, when you and I are agreed, the result will be the attainment of perfect truth. Now there is no nobler inquiry, Callicles, than that which you censure me for making. What ought the character of a man to be, and what is his pursuits, and how far is he to go, both in maturer years and in youth? For be assured that if I err in my own conduct, I do not err intentionally, but from ignorance. Do not then desist from advising me, now that you have begun, until I have learned clearly what this is which I am to practice, and how I may acquire it. And if you find me assenting to your words, and hereafter not doing that to which I assented, call me dolt and deem me unworthy of receiving further instruction. Once more then, tell me what you and Pindar meant by natural justice. Do you not mean that the superior would take the property of the inferior by force? That the better should rule the worse? The noble have more than the mean? Am I not right in my recollection? What ought the character of the man to be, and what his pursuits, and how far is he to go, both in maturer years and in youth? For be assured that if I err in my conduct, I do not err intentionally, but in ignorance. It's a long passage. I'm just going to mark it. I don't know if I'm going to remember. I usually mark things and then forget about it. Let me write marked passage. Callicles. Yes, that is what I was saying, and so I still affirm. Socrates. And do you mean by the better the same as the superior? For I could not make out what you were saying at the time, whether you meant by the superior the stronger, and that the weaker must obey the stronger, as you seem to imply when I said that the great cities attack small ones in accordance with natural right, because they are superior and stronger, as though the superior and stronger and better were the same, or whether the better may be also the inferior and weaker, and the superior the worse, or whether better is to be defined in the same way as superior. This is the point which I want to have cleared up. Are the superior and better and stronger the same or different? Callicles. I say unequivocally that they are the same. Socrates. Then the many are by nature superior to the one, against whom, as you were saying, they make the laws. Certainly. Then the laws of the many are the laws of the superior. Very true. Then there are the laws of the better, for the superior class are far better, as you were saying. Yes. And since they are superior, the laws which are made by them are by nature good. Yes. And are not the many of opinion, as you were lately saying, that justice is equality, and that to do is more disgraceful than to suffer injustice? Is that so or not? Answer, Callicles, and let no modesty be found to come in the way. Do the many think, or do they not think thus? I must beg of you to answer, in order that if you agree with me, and I may fortify myself by the assent of so competent an authority. Callicles. Yes, the opinion of the many is what you say. Socrates. Then not only custom but nature also affirms that to do is more disgraceful than to suffer injustice, and that justice is equality, so that you seem to have been wrong in your former assertion. When accusing me, you said that nature and custom are opposed, and that I, knowing this, was dishonestly playing between them, appealing to custom when their argument is about nature, and to nature when the argument is about custom. Callicles. Oh, this man will never cease talking nonsense. At your age, Socrates, are you not ashamed to be catching at words and chuckling over some verbal slip? Do you not see, have I not told you already, that by superior I mean better? Do you imagine me to say that if a rabble of slaves and nondescripts who are of no use except perhaps for their physical strength get together, their very words are laws? Socrates. Oh, my philosopher, is that your line? Certainly. Thus far our scripture of the evening. Maybe we should start with a marked passage. What ought the character of a man to be, and what his pursuits, and how far is he to go, both in maturer years and in youth? For be assured that if I err in my own conduct, I do not err intentionally, but from ignorance. What ought one's character to be? And what your pursuits, and how far are you to go? And if I err, I do not err intentionally, but in ignorance. I prepared something, but it's not with me. again at work, I had a quick look at, because I do not know Aquinas at all, being a Protestant and everything. But I had a quick look at the four causes. And man, and I also don't know Aristotle, so very ignorant. Having that final cause is indeed a queen of a cause to have, does indeed answers to so many questions. But alas, if one were to ask me say for instance, what is my goal with this project? I can only say that as a nihilist, I am not entitled to a goal. I think I might be understanding nihilism incorrectly or practicing it in a way that other people don't. I am not of the group that makes their own meaning, that's for sure. I'm more of the absurdist group, I think, if I understand that correctly. And one way to rebel is to conform. And if there is no meaning out there, which Bernardo Kastrup is questioning, or having me question. But still, I don't believe in the final cause, the telos. Teleology, oh man, that's it's so good to have that behind you. It's very much, if you don't have the all-knowing, all-powerful, and even all-loving maybe. Well, all-loving makes it difficult. God, in your worldview, it's difficult to justify having a telos. So I have no goals. And I don't think whatever this is that is playing with me has any goals either. And this is totally me projecting, I know this. It's me making my... that's maybe why I started my day with placing my hand on this book's symbol's hand. It's got extremely long fingers. Maybe, because it's an ancient thing, maybe it's they realized how handy it is to have fingers. And so this is how I connect with my books. This is how I absorb the knowledge. It's much easier than actually reading. Where was I? Teleology. Shit. It's completely blank now. Oh, the unfolding. The intentionless unfolding of being and of nothingness is in my mind. And then of whatever spark of divinity there is within this, whatever sacredness there is, I see it as unintentional unfolding. I would love to have more people in my life with what knowledge, goodwill, and outspokenness to contradict me. Of course. Because I am very sure that I am nowhere near the perfect truth. And I don't think we can ever be. But at least we can get closer. There's a passage in the Bible, in Proverbs, I think. I only know it in Afrikaans. I noticed that I've lost a lot of my biblical knowledge, but it's been many years, and I have recently reread it in English, but just once, and I was appalled, reading it without the rose glasses. So it was not an easy thing to digest, mostly because I was like questioning who I used to be. And questioning everything that used to be considered evil, seeing things that used to be that are considered evil. For instance, the goddesses and the woman who worshipped them, though strictly speaking they should have been allowed. And having met people who are so good and so evil according to that book. I keep distracting myself tonight. See, I told you I have no goal. I'm just unfolding right in front of your very eyes. What was I speaking about? Oh, Eyster slyp eyster, vriende vorm mekaar. Iron is used to rub iron. Friends form friends. It sounds really terrible, the translation. I'm quite sure the Bible, the King James or any other translation will have it much better. But that's the passage that comes to mind. How we form each other in our pursuit of truth and beauty and goodness. I wrote down, and it's not always the case, of course, but you often see youth studying philosophy leads to cleverness, and when it stops there, it ends in cleverness. Believe me, I know what it is to be clever, also wise in the business world, and it's really not all it's cut out to be. So if you study philosophy only for that, by all means, good luck to you. But because then I added, keeping with it, in defense of my lovely lady, seeing that most of today was against her, you develop depth. And that's not necessarily a given. Because you can stay in your own shallow waters. But odds are, if you stick to anything, you will develop some depth there. Talking of depth, the symbol of the day, see, I'm just going to be all over the place today, is subway. They speak of the subway, particularly London and New York, but then also as the symbolical meaning in that is going into the underground, into the scary places where it's dark and there's rats and stuff. And then they say, I don't know if it's true, I didn't verify, that at about the same time that the subways were dug and made, in the depth psychology, analytical psychology, Freud, Jung, those people, was also making its appearance. So they connect the subway with going into your unconscious. So that's the symbol of the day. I had to unfortunately read that. I couldn't just get that information by putting my hand on the hand. I don't know why. I must have done something wrong. I'll practice. Put your hand in the hand of the man who stilled the water. An art which converts a man into a fool. Well, maybe that can bring me back to what I started with. Not having any purpose. Not having any final telos. I printed out the 4 causes to make sure that I get it right, because as I said, I don't know it. But it's over there now, and I can't read it from here. So I'm hoping I get that right. I'm quite sure the final cause, the telos. The thing is, you operate from unfolding. It's a very different way of operating. Maybe not. And everyone, and probably they're right. Like, what do I know? And I'm sure they're right, because having a 5-year plan and getting your steps to get there will probably take you much further than I will ever get in my life. But that is goal orientation. Operating from this unfolding, sense of unfolding, you have to develop your finesse, your feel, listening to the voice within. I was complimented on the persistence of this. It's not persistence. I've already said it, I think, multiple times, that I can only, being a nihilist also, maybe I'm just blaming the fact that I'm a nihilist for this being a personality trait. But I'm a happy nihilist because I also have a cheerful disposition by nature. I get it from my dad. We're just happy. Even when we're not, we're just happy. Cheerful, I guess is the right word. What was I saying? Oh, I can't do anything unless I love doing it, or I have to do it. And this project is kind of both. Sometimes it leans more to the one and sometimes to the other. I can tell you how I rationalized it, what I told myself, okay, you have to do it because. I had to do it because Mr. Rochester, a man I love very deeply, platonically, needed someone to read to him. And this was the easiest way to do it on a daily basis. That's the rationalization. And I suspect there's truth in that, because our relationship is of an archetypical character. So it might very well be that our relationship called me to do something that goes beyond that, beyond just the superficial reason. I suspect that is true. That I needed that from him. More maybe than he needed me and my voice. That's why I'm so boring. Also because I just am boring. I'm very vanilla. Very. So that's how I rationalize it to myself. But I have no... At this stage, the goal is to finish. That is the goal. What will flow from that is, of course, a very different, or from this is, of course, a very different question. It's not a question of goal. It's a question of further unfolding. But that I cannot see yet. Not clear enough in any way that I can comment on it. I see different ways that it could unfold. There's not just one way. So I hope it helps. That'll do, I think. Sophia herself will guide your way in your personal and our collective unfolding.